Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about MBSR. So, what is MBSR? MBSR, these four letters stand for Mindfulness-based Stress Reduction. And so last time we talked a little bit about secularizing mindfulness, that mindfulness originally is a Buddhist concept. I mean, a concept that comes out of Buddhism. I think Jon Kabat-Zinn has said to call mindfulness Buddhist is kind of like calling physics Christian, right? Even though that Isaac Newton was a Christian, just because he developed and discovered physics and calculus doesn't make those things Christian things. And likewise, just because Gautama found out about how mindfulness works, about how paying attention changes us psychologically and in turn physiologically, is just a discovery. It's not necessarily or not at all aligned with a particular religion. So mindfulness-based stress reduction is a way to have taken, something that seems perhaps miraculous in how it works, and we'll talk just briefly about how it works. And when that kind of miraculous thing happens, sometimes it's something that seems miraculous happens. It's possible for you to think, well, hey, there must be something more to it than that. And so I think that's kind of what's happened over the years, is that along with some of this really basic stuff that we pay attention to and we talk about in MBSR, along the way throughout the years, as Buddhism migrated in various directions, mostly northeast and southeast, there was local traditions and local superstitions and beliefs that kind of got tagged along with it. So Jon Kabat-Zinn, when he created mindfulness-based stress reduction, was part of it was about, well, can we kind of strip this down to its most practical and most useful components? So what is MBSR? Mindfulness-based stress reduction is an 8-week course. It's I think John, when he created the course, wanted to make sure that it wasn't a strict formula, that every teacher teaches it identically. It wasn't meant to be like that. I think the most important thing as an MBSR teacher is to be authentic and to embody the teachings by being a practitioner. As an MBSR teacher, something that I must do is I must meditate every day. I must go on one 5 to 7 day silent retreat every year as part of my certification to ensure that I embody the teaching. So MBSR is an 8-week course. In those 8 weeks, we slowly kind of unfold this experience, starting with very, very basic about what is mindfulness, how it relates to our perception and how we perceive the world, and what is the stress response. How does our body, first of all, how does the stress response happen? It's often an external stimulus that causes us to feel stressed. And other times, maybe even more often these days, it's something internal, that a thought about something. And what's interesting about thinking is you discover that the things that you're thinking about aren't happening right now. And that the brain is very powerful at simulating experience. It's so powerful that it causes the body to react in a way as if that thing that you're thinking about is happening right now. So taking something that, anxiety into the future and bringing it into the present moment as if it were happening in this moment. So you know, mindfulness is, the definition of mindfulness is paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So as we time travel to the past with our minds, to the future with our minds, mindfulness is the encouragement to pay attention to this experience that's going on right now. And that includes when our mind mindlessly wanders into the future and brings that emotion in. Can I objectively observe that emotion as it's going on right now? So it's really interesting and extremely powerful. And I think, me as a meditation skeptic, back before I started meditating, so I took MBSR in 2017, and I just think it was such a powerful experience that it really changed my view on meditation, and I became an MBSR teacher. So what happens during those 8 weeks? So you commit to meditating for 45 minutes or more per day, following the curriculum, and and that's intense, and that can be intensive. And if you do take MBSR, my recommendation is to be committed to doing those 45 minutes a day, because it is only for 8 weeks, and when the course is over, you can do whatever you want. And the real idea of making sure you do those meditations is so that you can really start to see the impact as to what happens to you. And you come back for that 2.5-hour course once a week to talk with the other MBSR participants. Like, what happened this week as I was meditating? And we meditate together with the MBSR teacher. So get and learn perhaps each week like a new skill. So we're kind of building upon what we've been learning throughout the 8 weeks. And then between weeks 6 and 7, there's a 1-day silent retreat, so that we spend 1 day together in silence to really drop into the experience of being with ourselves. What's that like? What's it like to be with yourself, by yourself, without speaking to anybody else for an entire day? And what can you experience? What do you observe about yourself as you go into that time of silence? And it's this all is it's very interesting stuff. And I can say from my experience as well that these silent retreats, even a 1-day silent retreat, that there's a lot that can happen inside of there, and some surprises that may come up. And MBSR as well is a way to learn to be more curious and to be more open about your experience, whatever it is that's coming up. Is my experience pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Is it challenging? Is it painful? Can I open up to that experience, whatever it may be, to examine it with curiosity, like a scientist examining his experiment, like what's going on right now? And this really is the encouragement, and there are a lot of documented benefits that MBSR has shown throughout the years. And it is really the gold standard for mindfulness training. That you'll find that pretty much every scientific study that you will see out there that talks about mindfulness and meditation, or that has examined the effectiveness of mindfulness and meditation, uses MBSR as the standard, as the experiment group, does this work or does it not work? And so I've talked a lot about MBSR, and I guess I was supposed to talk a bit more about the history, but I really want to make sure that it's clearly communicated what is MBSR. And next time we'll talk about what are some of the benefits of MBSR. So John created Mindfulness-based Stress Reduction in 1979, and it's been going ever since, and growing, and a lot of people have benefited from this course. So, welcome, Lorraine. I I'll get back to the chat here shortly, but in the meantime, now is the time for us to do a meditation. So let's get into our practice. So feel free to get comfortable wherever you are. So if you like, allowing your eyes to close. Noticing that you are breathing. And all of us, if we're still alive, are breathing. So how do you know that you're breathing? Is there a place in the body in particular that gives you some indication that you're breathing? Is there a physical sensation that accompanies the breath? So maybe you can feel your abdomen. Your belly is expanding as you breathe in, stretching out. As you breathe out, it's contracting. And then I even hesitate to use the word contracting, because contracting seems to imply tension. And then maybe I'd use the word deflating, but then there's actually no air in there, is there? The air is in the lungs, up in the chest area. So what's happening? What am I feeling exactly in the abdomen? Can we examine with curiosity what's really going on there? What do I feel? What is there a word even that describes what's happening? The abdomen expands, then it releases. Outwards, away from the spine as I breathe in. Letting go, releasing back towards the spine as I breathe out. And so it's possible that you may be having difficulty feeling your own breath. So if so, maybe taking your left hand, placing it on the belly, the right hand across the chest, now, is it possible for you to focus your attention entirely on observing what it feels like to be breathing? Curiously exploring. And noticing, does the mind have any commentary about perhaps this process? So what am I supposed to be doing? Just sitting here, feeling my breath? What's that supposed to do? could be an example of the commentary. Could be other things. Could be wandering off into what am I going to be doing next? Or what is it that I've just come from doing? So as best we can, keeping the attention focused on this feeling of breathing. And each time that we notice the mind has wandered to something else, seeing if we can observe, what is that thought? What is the nature of the thought? Is there an emotion accompanying the thought? Do I feel that emotion manifesting inside the body somewhere? And then after acknowledging, letting go, and once again returning the full attention to the observation of breath and the physical sensations that accompany breath. So keep it up. You're doing great. We're getting close to the end now. And then even what does that feel like? To know that the practice is coming to a close shortly. So can you be aware of each thought that comes into the mind as it does? I think that's maybe a myth about mindfulness, is that it causes the mind to be completely clear. So is it possible to just be aware of what's happening and do our best to keep the attention focused on the here and now, and often that is through observing physical sensations. And so wherever you are right now, whatever has happened today in the mind, see if you can bring your attention fully to the next 3 breaths as we begin to draw our practice to its close. Fully paying attention to the inhale, fully aware of the exhale. And now, whenever you're ready, feeling free to open your eyes if they were closed, to move around, to stretch out if you like. Thanks for taking this time to practice with me. So again, I'm not closing, at least for this series, I'm not closing practice with a bell. And that's just for the reason of honoring secular mindfulness. And some people might have some feeling about a bell and what it means. So we'll just be finishing practice by fully paying attention. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Cece. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jean. Rachel says, I don't want to open my eyes. Sitting in stillness is sublime. And then this always, whenever someone talks about how great their meditation experience was, I always want to acknowledge those that are here today whose meditation wasn't fantastic, that felt like I can't, like, how long has it been? When is it going to be over? This is so difficult. I'm not a meditator. I can't meditate. So, just for every person that's had a good experience, acknowledge that there's also probably a person who's had a challenging experience today. So thanks for being here. So now is the time for commentary. So feel free to write in the chat, how to go today. What was your practice like? Any questions about MBSR, Mindfulness-based Stress Reduction? We'll go into MBSR a bit more in the next few sessions. Talk about the history, talk about some of the benefits that have been documented through scientific studies. So I look forward to sharing all of that with you. Like typing with your eyes closed isn't that impressive necessarily, right? I suppose I don't know. I learned to type when I was in junior high, I think, and now I can still, as long, that's why like the J and the F have those little bumps on them, so you know where to put your index fingers. Thanks, JB. I'm happy that this has been helpful, and I guess I would encourage you to come back. I suppose the real encouragement is like, what's meditating every day like, and how does that, how do we experience that? And I suppose the other thing is to caution those who are having a difficult time, because sometimes starting a mindfulness practice in the middle of a really challenging time can actually have the opposite effect that we want and that we've intended, and that it can actually kind of make a loudspeaker for the challenging time, because paying attention to what's happening right now intentionally, perhaps for the first time, can actually bring to light new things that we may not have been aware of. So I would encourage you, if you're just starting meditation, to especially if you're going through some challenging time, to do it alongside your therapist, so that there is additional guidance with whatever it is that comes up. And of course, I'm here as an Insight Timer teacher. My messaging, like the messaging function on Insight Timer, works. I do have people message me from time to time with questions, and when they're having challenging times, and I must say I don't always get back to those within 24 hours. Sometimes it'll take 48 or 72 hours for me to get back to you. But just to let you know, that door's open if you ever are encountering a challenge in your meditation practice that you want to talk about. I'm happy to receive any questions that you have. And Kim says, I started with 5-minute meditations. It takes practice. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%, to choose a practice time that is achievable for you, that you should meditate. Try meditating every day first. Instead of trying to do a big 30-minute block on Sunday, see if you can do 5 minutes every day. And I think that is likely going to be more helpful than trying to sit for a big block. If you do need help with a 5-minute meditation, I have 5-minute recorded tracks that you can follow. You can use to follow the breath. I have a 10-minute track. For body scan, I have a 15-minute track, a 30-minute track, a 45-minute track. So you can use all of these to assist in your journey as you try to bring a bit more mindfulness to your daily life. And of course, the practice on the cushion, right? This dedicated practice where we sit and try to focus on one thing, like that's the time in the gym. We want to take those muscles that we're training and bring them out into the real world, and bring them out into our times of stress or times of anxiety. So, just know that's a means to an end. Our meditation practice is really a means to an end. And that said, it doesn't mean that you don't have to, or that you cannot enjoy the practice. By all means, and as Thich Nhat Hanh says, breathe and smile. Breathe and smile. typing one thing at the same time as having a conversation with somebody about something else. That's funny too, right? And this is like I know this. I've done this. This is the multitasking that we think that we're doing. But anyway, let's not get into that today. Interesting though. It's possible though, right? To have a conversation about one thing and type about something else. Jean says, today I got distracted when one of my maybe my cat meowed loudly, and I want to get up and see what's going on. Yeah. Sybil says, thank you. My brain wanted to tell a story. And good. I'm happy that the MBSR explanation was clear. Thanks, Cece, for sharing in our practice. It's great to have you here, and I appreciate you taking time out to do it. Jay says, yeah, but some people don't do well with the breath and need a different focus, and that's true. And so this is kind of why we do different kinds of practice. And I'd say, the majority of practice that I do on this live does happen to be the breath. And there, I guess I won't go into why that is. But certainly other people do need another focus. So sometimes breath, it might be traumatizing because of what a person has gone through or whatever, or maybe the breath just isn't working. And so as we go through MBSR in these next few weeks, the main method of practice will be body scan. So we will be doing a lot more body scan in these days. But, as an MBSR teacher, when I teach the intro class, this 2 hands on the body, right? The one hand on the chest and the other hand on the belly is something that I always do, just so that people can try to experience the breath, perhaps for the very first time if they've never done it before. So that's kind of the idea here in practice 1, is just to show that you can pay attention to your breath, and there is interesting stuff going on. And if you do it with curiosity, you might start to see things about your breathing that you've never noticed before. So, join Ryan's Daily Mindfulness Circle. Is the name of it. Ryan's Daily Mindfulness Circle on Insight Timer. And that group led by Jean, and I think Chris is helping out here too these days. There is a daily meditation on the days that I'm not live. Yes, and thanks Jean, follow me on Insight Timer. That's the best way for you to be able to support me as well. So it helps to get my tracks more plays, I guess, and more visibility to these live events. I know Insight Timer has an agenda for me that I'm unfortunately for them, I'm not super great at doing all this stuff. But hey, I'm still here, still live on twice a week, and maybe more as times go on. Thank you, Jean. Thanks everybody for being here. Okay, and see, look who knows. He's like, it's time for you to finish practice. It's time for you to feed me. Right? Let's close our practice with some well wishes. So, send our well wishes out to ourselves and to each other. So if you like repeating after me, you can repeat out loud or to yourself. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening right now, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life here on planet Earth and throughout the universe, if it so be out there, may all of us be happy and peaceful. All right. Take care. See you on Tuesday, maybe Monday night your time, as we talk a little bit more about mindfulness-based stress reduction. Can't wait. See you then. Bye-bye.